All right, so first off, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it. First things first, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the realm of psychology.
Sure. So my name is Manmeet, but I go by Dr. Minnie. Minnie is short for Manmeet. I grew up in the Bay Area, California, Northern California, to a Punjabi Sikh family. I got interested in psychology more during undergrad. I didn't know what I wanted to study, so I started studying psychology, and I had some really great professors that really led me into wanting to learn more. I got really fascinated with behaviors and emotions and learning how to express emotions and why we do what we do. So that's really what got me started in psychology.
hmm So what do you do in the realm of psychology? Because I know psychologists focus on a different variety of populations and settings. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so currently I'm in private practice and I also run community workshops on topics related to stress, anxiety, and trauma. Including collective and intergenerational ancestral trauma. I do yoga education, so yoga psychology and cognitive behavioral therapy in my teachings.
hmm I never thought about that. Yoga psychology and cognitive behavioral therapy. Could you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when it comes to like stress and anxiety and even trauma, the nervous system really goes haywire. It really doesn't know how to respond to threat in its environment. There's a lot of mixed signals. So what we know from research, and this is, of course, yoga has been around for over 5,000 years. It's been working for a reason. But in modern research, we know now how it's impacting the way our brain and nervous system functions. So we're able to see things in the more present and be in the here and now and really understand how we have more agency and control over how we respond to situations. So even trauma itself, like it's an event. Trauma is a situation that happens, and we are not our trauma, just like we are not our behaviors and we are not our emotions. So we can learn to how to respond to traumatic situations. And when you're in a traumatic situation, your nervous system is rising to the occasion to protect you. And so sometimes we don't understand that and we start pathologizing ourselves or saying like something's wrong with me. But a lot of times our body is actually having a very normal response to abnormal situations. So yoga and mindfulness, meditation, and also cognitive behavioral therapy is very much about being present with our own body and our own thoughts and how we can get more power and agency over these things and learn to navigate through situations rather than avoid it altogether.
Mm-hmm. My next question, I guess, is what sorts of strategies or approaches do you use in your line of work with patients, going through these issues of like depression, anxiety, etc.?
Yeah, that's a great question. Collaboration is key. I believe it's my duty and responsibility to empower patients to be self-efficacious and independent while learning how to access support through their communities. So, like family, friends, local organizations, that we can't do this on our own. So one thing is learning first, identify what is it that's happening. What am I experiencing right now? What are my thoughts? What are my emotions? But also understanding that, we can work together collaboratively to figure out a strategy that's best for each individual. So there's not like a one size fits all. It's really people learning to understand their own core beliefs, and so those are those deep-seated beliefs that we hold about ourselves, and also what we call in CBT intermediate beliefs. So those are the rules that we have about life, the assumptions that we have, and a lot of times the distorted ways of viewing reality, which we call cognitive distortions. But also the strategies are also include a lot of mindfulness, meditation, group work, community work, and learning how to access support and ask for help when you need it.
Mm-hmm. My next question is, what have people heard said to you, like in your line of work? What have patients, have they said about, working with you and like seeking help for, if they ever need help? Do they say like, Dr. Ritu, help me in this way? What have you heard from patients that you've worked with?
Um, well, you mean as far as like what they come to therapy for,
Yeah,
or?
yeah, come to therapy. Yeah.
I see. Okay. So a lot of times they do come in for anxiety or relationship stress or sometimes trauma that they're experiencing a lot of hypervigilance or have difficulty trusting people, trusting themselves. Depression a lot of times goes hand in hand with that. So we're working on their mood. But it's again, it's very individualized, and so as they're learning through treatment is that it's not just usually one thing that's contributing to their current presentation. It's usually a number of things. So including, one is of course our past experiences, our history, and our cognitive structure, how we see ourselves in the world, and the lens through which we see ourselves in the world, which we call schemas, and also then understanding how their mood might be an an outcome of their own thoughts and their own beliefs. So a lot of times they're coming in for like, again, like mood and anxiety related conditions, but then they see that there's actually a lot more to that, like their relationships or their job or other things that might be contributing to their stress.
Mm-hmm. My next question is, how important is it for people to be seen and heard by others? In other words, like I've had a friend of mine told me this recently where she went to see like therapy, um, and there were times where she didn't feel seen or heard, as a woman. So she was able to, she's in therapy now, but
Yeah.
her therapist is a woman, and what she said to me was, I feel seen and heard I'm because I see myself in that way, you know what I mean? Like by having a female therapist, she can be seen and understood more.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely. I resonate with that a lot. I think it's really important in order to feel safe, you have to feel seen and heard. And so the first goal of any therapy is always safety and rapport. So making sure that the client feels safe in the room and then that there's rapport. So otherwise it's hard to build trust. And so having somebody from a similar background or somebody that really understands or can have empathy, even if they haven't been in your specific situation, that there are things that resonate, when it comes to their experience of the world, because everybody's experience of the world is going to be obviously very unique. But when we can find others who live in similar situations, maybe same cultural background or same kind of multicultural background, disabilities even, that they get it. And I think it's so important to feel like being around people that just really get it. And that way it feels safer to express yourself, like when you feel like it's resonating when you share.
hmm my last question, I guess, is, like what advice would you give people studying, your kind of work? What two pieces of advice would you tell them, for people that are like doing what you do?
Yeah, that's another really great question. And I love working with students and mentoring students. So, so learn as much as you can. I think talk to everyone and expose yourself to the work and populations that you want to serve. You want to be in a place that really makes you experience joy and fulfillment as well. It shouldn't always feel like work. Like the work that I do, it's even though it is obviously it's my profession, it's something that, resonates with me personally and it brings me personal satisfaction and fulfillment. So that means that when you're feeling fulfilled and satisfied in the work that you're doing, you're going to want to do more of it and you're going to want to get better at it. So I think, exposing yourself to these situations, talking to as many people as possible, and also listening to your own intuition and your inner wisdom that your body knows and you yourself know where when things are aligned with your values and your beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
that took a while, honestly, like for me to figure that out too for myself. Like I said, when I went to psychology for undergrad, it was because I didn't know what I wanted to do. There are no psychologists in my family. I wasn't exposed to it, but I knew it was something that drew interest for me. And I started talking to my professors and I saw how they were. Like they were the most authentic instructors that I had. And that's a value of mine that I want to be around people who can be transparent, who can be real. And I think psychologists, most of us at least, of course, there's always some not so great therapists out there too, but psychologists I saw for the most part were very genuine in themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like if you're passionate about something, just like go for it, just like you had. Because, like you said, you didn't have psychologists in your family, but also like, but you wanted to do it. You wanted to explore that further.
Totally. Yes, exactly. Like I wasn't modeled any of it, but it was just something that I knew that was important, that I liked, and I was intrigued, and so I just kind of kept going with it.
Yep. That's pretty cool.